Hey everyone, welcome to my kitchen. It's Sunday, meal prep time. I'm going to show you not only how I shop for ingredients, how they get delivered to the house, where we get our produce from, but also how to concoct and put together a meal prep day on Sunday so that you've got meals for 3 to 5 days to come. Check it out.
I gotta hit the beat. I gotta hit the beat. I gotta hit the beat. I gotta hit the beat.
All right, I just got this a few days ago. Prior to this, I had a different food processor. This one is made by Breville. It is called the Sous Chef 16 Cup Edition. It's relatively pricey, so I don't expect you to go and just be like, oh, let me pick one of these up and put it next to my, $20 air fryer. It's a little bit more than that, but this thing is extremely powerful and it can do so much. I'm very excited that I have it because it's going to make food prep extremely fast. Like I said, these carrots that I just showed you earlier, all I did was I put on the julienne slicer attachment, dropped carrots in there, and within 15 seconds I had, all of my carrots prepped out. You guys will go to the store and many of you will buy pre-cut vegetables because it's much faster and more convenient for you. Well, guess what? If you have something like this, you are going to be able to save a ton of time, buy bulk vegetables and throw them in here and get the same exact quality of slicing. That's all they're doing, and they're upcharging you a ton. So it'll pay for itself in the end. Another thing that I did with this one was the zucchini and carrots, julienne like that. That was really quick in this machine, and that's what I used to saute. I also put my wife's mushrooms in here. So I took about a 3-pound case of mushrooms from Costco and tossed them in the food processor, sliced them up, and I got this really nice slice that then sauteed super well on the stovetop. Let's see, what else did I use this for? Oh, this was the best one. This one, let me see where I have an option to show you this. I believe, I don't know why. Oh, okay. It was my wife's meals. Yeah. Can you see this? Is that working for you? Anyway, so you see rice, and then there's this other white-ish, brownish stuff down here. Okay, riced cauliflower. Riced cauliflower is essentially just like little tiny pieces of cauliflower that behave very similar to rice. So they start out pretty hard, and then the more you cook them, they absorb a lot of water. You cook it in chicken stock, and it turns into kind of like a rice. It's a low carb way to get like a rice texture and a rice feel. So what I did was I put on the julienne slicer attachment to this, and I literally took these whole heads of cauliflower where I basically just took off the green, and I dumped them in, and this thing riced like 3 heads of cauliflower in about 10 seconds, which was amazing to me because that is one of my pet peeves about cauliflower, is that when you cut it on a cutting board like this and you're slicing it and you're trying to dice it and get it small or rice it, it goes everywhere and it like ends up in every crack of the entire kitchen. So I don't love that. This was super clean, super efficient, and I made this rice cauliflower, which I think is going to taste amazing, and it's going to have a good texture next to the regular rice with the ground turkey. So that was a huge win. I'm super stoked on this. The last part, and I'll wrap this up today by I'm going to do a little quick demo of how to make pesto. And pesto, like I said, when I opened up my imperfect produce box, I had all of that cilantro, and you're like, whoa, why would you get so much cilantro? It's about this much cilantro. Well, like I said earlier, I like to make pesto out of this, and I know some of you absolutely can't stand the taste of cilantro, but if you like cilantro, the way I'm going to make this is going to be outstanding. I recommend this recipe, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how it's done super quick. Okay, here we go. Ingredients. Now, I have this food scale, okay? One of the things I really like about this food scale is it's got this attachment. The actual screen slides down so that you can have a big bowl like this that might otherwise cover the screen, but you pull that screen down and now I can see. So I'm gonna zero this thing out. Again, this thing is 16 cups. It can hold a ton of stuff. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a recipe, and this is exactly how I would take a sauce like a pesto, and I would create a recipe, and I would input those ingredients into MyFitnessPal so that I could take something as complicated as pesto with 5 different ingredients in it, and I can actually have a sense of, okay, how much is this specific sauce or this pesto gonna actually add to my meal in the way of macronutrients, because I do like to track what I eat. So, oh man, I think that's a piece of my skin. These blades are pretty sharp. Let's put it that way. Okay, first I'm gonna measure out exactly how much cilantro is going in, and I'm gonna use all of it because there's really nothing else that my family is gonna use this cilantro for in a given week. I can't, I mean, I could dice up a little bit of it, chop it, and put it onto the salads, but I find it to just be a lot easier to put this all into the food processor and make a pesto out of it. And then I can even take that and I can put it onto the salad too. Again, cilantro pesto goes great on eggs, it goes great on meats, chickens, any one of these dishes it would be great on. All right, so I've got 415 grams of cilantro. So I go ahead and I put that in, 415 grams. Okay, that's part of the recipe, confirmed. Next up, my good friends over at Top Fox sent me these roasted pumpkin seeds a little while back. I always like to put a roasted nut in there. Sometimes I put almonds in, sometimes I'll put pumpkin seeds in. I've had these sitting around for a little while. This is a spicy chipotle flavor. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the entire bag right into my pesto. It's gonna give it a little bit of a little spicy, a little smoky, nutty flavor. So that's going in. And what I'll do is I will add an ingredient to my recipe, because this was not in there last week. And thankfully, they've got the scan feature. So I'll just put in the whole bag. Great, so that's that. Next up, a little bit of my favorite pecorino romano cheese. This is actually from Costco, and I know I'm gonna get some heat for this, like that's not real pecorino romano, but this tastes absolutely delicious, and I can get it delivered right to my house. Not so bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and zero this out, and I'm gonna eyeball this and just decide how much I wanna put in. Let's go ahead and, we've got about, we'll call it at about 150 grams. We'll go 150 grams. I've got to add that ingredient to my recipe. And again, easy because I can scan this one in. It's always a little tough converting some of these numbers, but what that ended up being was 30 tablespoons. And next up, we're going to do lemon juice. Okay. If I had lime juice, that would be my preference here, but I don't have any limes. I've got a lot of lemon juice. These are fresh off my grandma's tree. My mom squeezed them with the kids. That was a fun project for them to do. So I'm going to put this whole entire thing in here, and we'll see how much that weighs. 100 grams. So 100 grams of lemon juice. Got to add another ingredient. Okay. So that is as far as I'm going to take it with the ingredients for now. Then the last thing we're going to have to put in is olive oil. And olive oil is what I'm actually going to put in as I'm processing it. So I'm going to drizzle the olive oil in until I get the right consistency, and then I'm going to figure out exactly how much olive oil I put into the recipe. So cool thing about this particular food processor is all of this is in here. The blade is attached, and I can go ahead and still drop this right onto the base without that blade popping out and doing something funky. So let's go ahead and get the top on. Okay, now here's another tip. Here's my olive oil. I'm going to zero it out. Okay, so now when I pour this into my recipe and I find out exactly what the right amount is, look, I'm looking for something that's like a little chunky. It's not like totally smooth and not totally oily, but once I start processing this, I'm gonna figure out by just drizzling in the olive oil what my right consistency is, and then as soon as I'm done, put the bottle back on the tiered scale. It'll tell me how much olive oil I used to put into my recipe. So here we go. It's gonna get louder in a second. Okay, that was 1 minute of actual processing. I stopped at about 40 seconds. I pushed the sides down to make sure that everything was incorporated at the bottom. I ended up putting in 120 grams of olive oil. So I'll go ahead and add that as my final ingredient, 120. What that did for me is now I've got all the ingredients in there. So the MyFitnessPal strategy is that it's going to tabulate everything that's in this recipe from a caloric macronutrient perspective. Now all I have to do is I have to set the actual serving sizes. The way I set the serving sizes is I'm going to take this off and I'm going to weigh what the final ingredients all weigh by themselves. So I need to put a little jar up here, which is where I'm going to store the rest of my pesto. But just before I do that, okay, this is what we're working with. This green, really delicious, fragrant, zesty. There's some citrus in there, really fresh, really bright. That cheese is gonna add some saltiness. There's the pumpkin seeds, which are gonna have that smoky chipotle flavor to it. This thing is gonna be packed with flavor, and literally you're gonna take like 2 to 3 tablespoons of it, just something like that, put it on like your omelet, put it on your meat, put it on your meal. I could throw it on this salad, and it's gonna add so much flavor to it, so much flavor. So I absolutely love it. I sometimes just spoon it into my mouth, but let's go ahead and do the last part where I gotta weigh this thing out. I have to get a container. I'll be right back. And we're back. We're gonna take the Rouse marinara homemade marinara sauce that I got from Costco I used earlier. This I washed, it was in the dishwasher, and now I've got this great vessel to put my pesto in. So this is just a little bit of a delicate process, but don't want to spill it. Don't want to spill this green deliciousness. And I'm sure there's probably a better way to do this, like a much more efficient way. So any of you chef people out there that want to tell me, hey, you're kind of being an idiot, Marcus, why don't you do it this way? Welcome the feedback. But for now, this is the best I can do. These silicone spatulas are really effective because they really help to kind of contour to the sides of this cylindrical shaped food processor, and they help to kind of get all these different areas where the blade is. So now that I got most of it out, don't mind that. Now that I got most of it out, I'm going to take the blade out, scrape it off, chop that enough. And I'll do something about that in a minute. There. I spilled a lot. Spilled quite a bit. Don't work on a dirty surface. Let's see, before I go ahead and do that, all in all, that was about 875 grams of total pesto from all those ingredients that I had put in there before. Ended up with 875 grams. Obviously, I missed a little bit here and there, so I'm just going to go ahead and call it an even 900, because there's about 25 grams that are somewhere on my cutting board or on this scale. So once I've got that 900 number in mind, I'm gonna go ahead and enter it into my recipe. I'm all done with the scale for today. I'll throw that off to the side, clean my workstation. I have a little trash can right down here, so I just push that into the trash can, not onto the floor. I know you're thinking, gosh, Marcus, that's disgusting. You just push stuff onto your floor. I didn't do that. Okay, and then also having a little damp rag nearby, always a good idea on food prep day. We have a bunch of those little towels that we got from Amazon Basics. And let's go ahead and wrap this up, change that to 900. Pretty close to last week's recipe in terms of everything that we got out of that. So here we go. So what I get from this is I get a full breakdown of what the recipe looks like per serving. Now, keep in mind, 900 grams was the total amount of the recipe that I made. I've got it right here in this overfilled jug or jar, which I'm gonna scoop some of that out into a separate jug, or jar rather. But now that I know all the ingredients that were in there, the serving sizes, I can go and I can add that to one of my recipes or one of my meals later in the week. So for example, tomorrow, let's say I'm gonna have my pork tenderloin dish that I still have left over from today, and I'm gonna add some of my cilantro pesto, and I'm gonna add 50 grams of my cilantro pesto. Boom, it tells me that's gonna be 126 calories, it's gonna have 11 grams of fat, it's gonna have 4 grams of protein, it's gonna have 2 carbohydrates, and that's exactly what's in this recipe. So I got pretty darn close, relatively accurate. It took me about, I don't know, you were with me the whole time, no more than 5 to 10 minutes to make that recipe. And now I have this awesome condiment to go on a lot of different things. It's gonna add a ton of flavor. It's not super dense in terms of calories or macronutrients. You could get away with half of that serving that I just talked about, 25 grams, put it on your eggs. It's gonna taste delicious. It's gonna brighten up what you're eating. It's gonna make the everyday functional eating that you're doing feel that much more exciting. That's what I'm all about. I'm about taking these meals that are full of flavor. They are gonna add a ton of time to my week because I'm gonna be so efficient now that I have all this food that's ready to go. It's locked inside these glass containers that are airtight, that are gonna be in the fridge. They're gonna be fresh when we take them out. They're not gonna feel stale. They're not gonna feel old. They're not gonna feel gross. They're gonna get heated up quickly. We're gonna be able to sit down, eat them, enjoy them with our kids while our kids are doing all the crazy stuff that they do around here. So we're gonna eat well. We're gonna track our macros. We're gonna track our calories. We're gonna be pretty precise about what we're eating. That's the secret to long-term success. Make it taste delicious and also be accountable to how much you're putting in your body. Thanks for joining me on this Meal Prep Sunday. I hope you learned something. Please drop a comment below if you got a question for me. I'd love to hear what you're doing on your meal prep, and I'd love to hear what you'd like to learn next in Marcus's kitchen. Take care.